Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 100 of our WWE 2022 Save and TEW 2020. This is Raw for February week 3. And yes, 100 episodes now in the series. It took us a while to get there, but cannot thank you guys enough for all the great feedback along the way. And yes, up to 100 episodes. And here's to hopefully another 100 in the future as we continue now the series, and we continue the road to WrestleMania for Raw, the road to No Way Out for SmackDown, but we got a lot to get to here on this milestone episode of Raw, and as you'll see, that involves me putting a lot of segments into the show, and some are pretty much crammed together with a lot of different stuff. So let's start with the pre-show. John Morrison gets the win over Mansoor, 7:30, Starship Pain, 60 rating here. Not much to this, just a little pre-show action for John Morrison. All right, that was as quick as it gets, right? We got to get to the main show because we've got a lot to get to as usual. All right, we start things off with a backstage segment here as we see Steve Austin starting to make his way towards the ring. And here comes Christian yet again. Now, remember last week, Christian was on Austin's case trying to figure out where's Edge, where's Randy Orton. They've not talked to Christian since the Royal Rumble. He's trying to figure out where they are. And Austin's just like, I don't know what to tell you, Christian. Get out of my way. He made the match against Angelo Dawkins last week, and now it's Christian, who got the win via cheating against Dawkins. Still wanting to know, Steve, it's your job. Where is Randy Orton? Why can't you tell me where he is? Because Christian's a little worried. He's always looking around for the Viper here after what happened at the Royal Rumble. But Austin's just like, Christian, I told you last week, I'm tired of answering your questions. I don't know where Randy Orton is, but get out of my way because I've got an announcement to make that happens to involve your friend, Edge. And Christian's just like, well, Edge, he's not returning my calls. I can't get to him either. And Austin just says, well, I don't know what to tell you, but here's what I'm going to do. Last week, I made a match with you and Angelo Dawkins, and because you keep bothering me, I'm going to make another match right now. You refused the challenge of Montez Ford last week. Well, I don't care. You're going to wrestle Montez Ford coming up next on Raw. So Christian's pissed. Austin says, you're going to wrestle Montez Ford after I make this big announcement. So we've got the official setup here. Austin just tired of Christian bothering him. So he's going to put him up against Montez Ford, even though Christian refused Montez's challenge last week. So 69, a nice rating to start off with here. As you'll see, we're going to get some low ratings on this show, because I think we've got a lot. I think we might have a record-setting number of segments on this show. So we had to shorten quite a few of them. But as you'll see, there's a reason for that with kind of a running thread we have throughout this one. So 69 for that one. And that leads us out to Steve Austin. Are you kidding me? I think the first time we've ever had this. Maybe the second time. Steve Austin, very poor when trying to improvise dialogue. Well, if that's just that, I'm not buying that. So this should have been a much better segment rating-wise. 79 for this one. But here comes Austin, and Steve Austin makes his way out to the ring, and he officially says, before I announce anything, I want you two to come out here. And he said you two, meaning AJ Styles, the winner of the 2022 Royal Rumble, and Edge, who made his return last week and attacked AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan and demanded a rematch for his WWE Championship that he lost to Bryan at the Rumble. So they come out, so we get these two making their way out. As sort of the mysterious entrances, as always, these two trying to avoid everyone as the top two heels on the brand. And so Austin gets him in the ring, and he says, you know what? Here's what I've decided. Edge, you came back last week. You said you deserve your rematch. Well, you're right. You absolutely deserve your rematch. But I'll tell you this. I've deserved, for months, for you two not to cause all this chaos on Raw. I haven't deserved any of this. You guys have made my life a living hell. So you know what? I'm going to do that to you. Because, Edge, you'll get your rematch for the WWE Championship if you're able to beat AJ Styles next week on Raw. He said, you two have been fighting back and forth for months and months now, but you've always had someone around you. But next week, you two, one-on-one in the ring, you can settle this however you want to settle it. I don't care if you beat the holy hell out of each other. That's what I want to see next week. And if Edge, you win, you'll be part of the WrestleMania main events with Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles. But he says, on the other hand, Edge, if you lose, it will be Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles for the WWE title. And so you can see the setup we have here. So the motivation is very clear. Edge has his motivation to earn the rematch, to get a shot at the championship, because Austin's just not going to give it to him for all the hell that Edge has caused, as part of Rated RKO over the past many months now. And AJ Styles has the motivation to keep Edge out of the WWE Championship match because that lowers his, chances percentage-wise to become the champion, and Styles feels like he's earned that opportunity as the winner of the Royal Rumble. So these two are looking at each other. Edge is pissed, and he tells Austin that he's pissed because he thinks he deserves his one-on-one rematch. But if you remember, Daniel Bryan got his rematch after losing at SummerSlam via the Money in the Bank cash-in. That happened in a triple threat match with Bobby Lashley and Edge. So even Bryan didn't get his one-on-one rematch. So could Edge be moving towards that? We'll find out. And Styles just says, Austin, I would expect nothing less from you. You've been trying to hold back the Bullet Club ever since. I go through and beat 29 other men to win the Royal Rumble, and you still want to try to put something in my path for getting my rightful one-on-one championship match. So these two guys are pissed at Steve Austin. But Austin just, again, basically says he does not care. These two have caused so much chaos. He wants them to rip each other to pieces next week. Because either way, it'll mean an advantage for Daniel Bryan if these two beat the hell out of each other. So that's kind of your setup here. I know a little long-winded, but that's kind of our setup now. So we've got a huge match set for next week. Edge and AJ Styles finally one-on-one. We have not had that match yet, even though we've had the feud. We're going to get it next week with a spot in the WrestleMania main event on the line. So this gets to 79, but we're not done yet because as we see Edge and AJ Styles start to leave, separate parts of the ring and make their way, away from the ring, here comes Montez Ford. And as you'll see, we've got a nice little new image here from Montez Ford, and who knows what that could mean. Ford starts having a stare down with Edge, which you remember, that was the big thing with Montez Ford. He lost that WWE Championship match to Edge where he had it won, but the replay, the technicality, has to hand the championship back to Austin after thinking he had won the title several months ago. And then he has the stare down with Styles, who, no stranger to kind of the heat and the feud between those two, with the Bullet Club involved, of course. So Ford staring down Edge, Ford staring down Styles. That leads us into our match coming up next. This gets to 76. And before we get to the finish, you know what happens. I think you knew to expect this. It is Christian and Montez Ford one-on-one. We do get the return of Randy Orton. The referee gets knocked down. And what happens? Here comes the Viper. Randy Orton finally makes his return, and he hits the RKO on Christian. Ford takes advantage with the splash off the top, and Montez Ford, 72 overall here, gets the win over Christian, and this did not do as well as I thought, and here is your reason. So, bad chemistry with Christian and Montez Ford. Good thing we did not plan a rematch because that's not what we were kind of looking for here, but it is Montez Ford getting the win over Christian and the Frog Splash, as we said, following the interference from Orton. So, Randy Orton back, and he gets his, somewhat of a payback, I guess you could say, on Christian here. But a lot of running threads to start this show, and perhaps we're not done with those just yet. So Ford gets a big win over Christian after a lot of significant stuff here to start the show. All right, and then we go backstage. Austin has made his way back after the announcement, and here comes Bayley. And Bayley just says, Steve, I heard you wanted to see me. And Austin says, you know what, Bayley? I sat out there, and I gave Edge an opportunity to earn his rematch for the WWE Championship. And so he says, so here's what I'm going to do for you, Bayley. Straight up, I'm not even going to make you earn it. He said, I'm going to give you a one-on-one rematch with Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship. The person who beat you at Royal Rumble, I'm going to give you a rematch. And Bayley's just kind of stunned by this because she was never expecting Steve Austin to give her a rematch. And then Bayley just says, You know what, Steve? I really appreciate that, but I don't think so. I'm good. I don't really want the. He's like, you sure you don't want to go 1-on-1 with Rhea Ripley? 1-on-1, just you and her, no outside interference. You, Rhea Ripley, 1-on-1. So Austin keeps repeating this, and you know why? Because Bayley was trying to avoid the match with Rhea for so long, finally gets it, and that led to Rhea Ripley pretty much just taking care of Bayley in quick fashion to finally get the comeuppance there. But Bayley's like, no, I don't want the rematch. I don't. But Bayley proposes something else. Because Bayley says, Steve, I don't want that rematch, but here's what I do want. Because I am the former champion, I do have a right to earn that rematch. So I want to do it in what everybody's been talking about. You've heard the rumor. I've heard the rumor. We all know there's going to be a women's Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania for a shot at the briefcase to eventually cash in and become a world champion yet again. And Bayley says, I want in. And so that's Bayley's proposition to Austin. And Austin says, you know what, Bayley? If that's what you want, you got it. You will be part of the women's Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania. So Bayley officially joins the group. We have not really heard about this match up until now, but that has apparently been the rumor, and we've got our first entrant as it's going to be Bayley joining that match for the opportunity to get a rematch with Rhea Ripley. But for now, Bayley wants to avoid that one-on-one rematch with Rhea, so perhaps it buys Bayley a little more time to figure out what she would do and also not have to go the traditional match route of beating Ripley, but could do it via the cash-in while Ripley is kind of down and out elsewhere. So Bayley trying to use her little flexing her former champion muscle here to use her heel tactics to perhaps beat Rhea without having to do it in a one-on-one match. So 79 for this one. All right, and then we continue the thread here as Christian backstage and he sees Edge, who Edge is starting to leave the building. And Christian just walks up and says, Edge, what is going on? You've not returned my calls. Like you haven't talked to me since the Royal Rumble. All this other stuff. And Edge just says, Jay, which we know, Jay, real name Christian. I don't want to talk to you right now. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to anybody else. He said, I lost my WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble. And what did I have to deal with all up until that match? I had to deal with you and everything going on with you and Randy Orton. He said, perhaps I made the wrong decision bringing you back for that Armageddon tag team match. And he just says, I should have never done it because it's cost me everything. It's cost me the WWE Championship. And he said, next week, I have my shot to get everything back. And I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be anywhere near you. So I'm leaving. Do not talk to me until after next week. So Edge, pissed off at Christian here. Pissed off at how everything unfolded. And so Christian trying to plead with Edge, but Edge is not having it. He leaves the building. 71 overall here for this one. All right, and then that leads us into a match with Bayley, who gets the win over Indy Hartwell, 650, the Bayley to belly suplex. Not much to this one, 62 overall for this match, but just gives Bayley a little momentum now, as we said, joining that women's Money in the Bank ladder match, which we will talk more about here on future episodes. So, afterwards, so I teased it earlier. I said, guys, I'm going to have to shove a lot into certain segments. Boy, was this an all-timer right here. I am not just, kind of tying in this thread. I had to tie in this and also tie in this. So, we are basically getting a bunch of match announcements for next week, okay? And we're tying them all into one segment versus separate because, quite honestly, I didn't have the time to be able to do it because we already had too many other segments. So this gets a 67. So here's what all we've got for next week, all right? Let's just go ahead and start with the other part. So, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, and Toni Storm are going to team up next week in 6-woman tag team action. Now, as we know, Ruby made her return at the Rumble, teamed up with Liv Morgan last week. They got a win. We saw Storm sort of ominously watching these two celebrate their victory in the back, but they're all three going to team up next week. We've also got an announcement that Rhea Ripley, our Raw Women's Champion, will be in action next week. So she'll be set to go in that one. Of course, we know she's on a course to take on Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's title at WrestleMania. And we also have the announcement that it will be Dominic Mysterio taking on Mustafa Ali. And that's when we get sort of a little bit of a segment and promo here that features Rey Mysterio and Dominic sort of talking up Ali's attack on Dominic last week. But we remember who made the save, and that was Angel Garza. And so then we see Garza walk into the screen and just say, look, guys, I know we've talked a little bit. I want to be ringside next week with you guys for this match against Mustafa Ali. He said, I know I've been sitting in the crowd. I've been trying to cheer on for him from afar, but we've talked now. Like, I can help you guys. I want to be there as sort of, part of this sort of lineage of great, Lucha Libre stars and all of this other stuff. So that's kind of Angel Garza's, kind of motivation here is he wants to be ringside. And I mean, look, we've got to take Angel for what he said at this point. He's just here to kind of help Dominic, and he wants to be there as part of this group to sort of protect the legacy, for the tradition, all this other stuff. So Rey still a little reluctant, you can tell, but Dominic just says, "Look, we're all good guys. Everything's fine. Everybody's on the same page here," and so that's kind of the setup leading into next week. So it does seem like Angel Garza will be ringside with Dominic and Rey for that match against Ali next week. So there you go. A lot of stuff set up for next week. Plus, as we said, we've already got Edge versus AJ Styles announced in a huge match. So a lot of stuff set up already for next week's show. All right. Then we get the video kind of panning to, once again, a locker room. We are down in this, dark hallway here, but we can hear the voices of AJ Styles, Adam Cole, and Finn Balor. The Bullet Club, once again, they are in this locker room and they are talking to someone. As we saw last week, we don't know who they're talking to, but we know they're talking to someone. Last week, the message was sort of, we told you this is what it would be like. This is what it's like to be part of this and to sort of, be where we are right now. That's what they were telling this person. And so now we get sort of the same message, but it's a little different now based on what just happened in the ring with Steve Austin. It's Styles just saying, look, we said it. This is what they want to do to us. They don't want us to have it all. They don't want us to have everything, because then what would Steve Austin do? He knows he would lose all the power. We would have all the power, and we know soon enough we're going to have it. And so we can just kind of hear Styles and Cole and Balor all kind of just pushing that same message of being sort of held back, and Austin trying, a last grasp effort here to keep the Bullet Club away from the gold. And that's kind of Styles' message, sort of as, the outsider type theme here. So still don't know who they're talking to, but perhaps we'll find out at some point. 72 here for this one. Now we get ready for the match that we teased last week, where it was Naomi basically saying, Sasha, I am challenging you to a match. I'm pissed off for what you did to me at the Rumble. They were the final two, as we saw in the Women's Royal Rumble. And Sasha just said, okay, very confident. She didn't act like she cared all that much, but she accepted the challenge. And that was kind of what happened there. So Naomi comes out for the match, and she's in the ring. Sasha's music starts playing. It's still playing. It's still playing some more. And Naomi's just looking around wondering what is going on here. Like, where is Sasha Banks? And Sasha, still not out. Naomi's just waiting. The crowd's getting restless. Where is Sasha Banks? And then, Naomi walks over to the referee asking a bunch of questions, and basically they say, we get to the ring announcer who says, we're going to give Sasha a 10 count. If she doesn't make it to the ring, she will forfeit the match, and Naomi will be declared the winner. So kind of old school traditional rules here. Sasha has to come on out or she's going to forfeit the match. So we get the count going, and we get up to about 8, and here comes Sasha Banks. So Sasha makes her way down as if nothing's happened here, and Sasha just continues to make her way to the ring as if, again, this is just a normal thing. So this gets to 73, almost like there's some mind games at play here, perhaps with Sasha and Naomi. So that's your setup here. We are going to have the match. Sasha Banks, Naomi, the final two in the Women's Royal Rumble, and we get to the finish. And it is Sasha Banks getting the win over Naomi in 10-10 using the bank statement. 74 for this one. Now, how did we get here? I didn't have a chance to put this angle in, but it is worth noting. What happens in this match? I hate using the ref bump twice in a show, but we had to do it here. We have to do it for this. So we have another situation where the ref kind of out of the way or occupied with something else. That's what we're going to go with on this one. And what happens? Naomi sort of has the upper hand. Sasha is on the outside, and that is when we see Sasha Banks go right back to the top corner of the ring. Underneath the ring, what is laying there? It's that same dented chair we saw her use at the Royal Rumble in the final two. With those two left, of course, well, Bayley was involved, we know as well. Sasha used the chair on Bayley, then used it on Naomi, threw them both out to get the win. The same chair. Sasha goes back to it. She's able to hit Naomi with it in the midsection yet again. Referee doesn't see it, and Sasha is able to then go for the bank statement, lock it on, and get the win over Naomi for the victory. So Sasha going back to some heel tactics here to get the edge on Naomi. And so Naomi falls again to Sasha Banks, who, as we said, on course to challenge Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. So pretty good match here, 74 overall. And Sasha, clearly the friendship with Sasha and Naomi, perhaps no more, as Sasha has done it yet again with the chair. So 74 for that one. And now we get to the video package, looking at the recent stuff we've had between Big E and Brock Lesnar. All started at the Rumble with Lesnar's attack on Kofi. Then Big E throws Lesnar out. Lesnar attacks Big E. We're off to the races from there. Last week on Raw, we had these two brawling outside, throwing each other on cars. Pure chaos. And then we had the match between Big E and The Miz on SmackDown. A one-time match for Big E there. And Big E got the win. Lesnar comes back to try to go after Xavier Woods. Then we saw the return of Kofi Kingston and New Day kind of standing strong with Brock Lesnar retreating. And all we know here is that basically we get an announcement saying that on SmackDown, Brock Lesnar will be on SmackDown, and it said Kofi Kingston is set to make an announcement as well on SmackDown. So what does all that mean? We will find out on SmackDown. So 70 overall for this one. This would have done much better, but let's be honest. It was a short one. Only had 3 minutes, I think, scheduled for this one. So, yeah, not ideal. All right. Let's continue as American Alpha, or Team Alpha Angle. Yeah, we got a lot of names for them, as was suggested in the comments as well. Like we got some different ones we can use here, for Chad Gable and Jason Jordan. But they're making their way out for a match, and here comes Finn Balor and Adam Cole, who are out to scout these duo here. Because remember last week what happened? We saw Angle, Jordan, and Gable come out to scout the tag team match with Cole and Balor against Enigma, Jeff Hardy, and Ricochet. Now we've got in kind of a reverse here, where it's Bullet Club coming out to scout the match for Gable and Jordan. This gets a 70, and in the match we see American Alpha here get the win over Akira Tozawa and Drew Gulak in 5:14. So pretty much a squash match. Still the excellent chemistry, good in-ring performances, 59 for this one. So not really worried about the ratings, but as you can tell, it kind of ties in. We don't get much from the Bullet Club here. They just sort of stare down, American Alpha after they get the win, and then we see Cole and Balor exit the ringside area. So, again, sort of teasing something in the future. We'll find out what that is. But another win for the returning duo of American Alpha. All right, and then we get to another match here, as it is Becky Lynch and Carmella, and not much psychology on display here, but it's very unusual, isn't it, for us to go from match to match? We don't do that very often, do we? So we actually did that here. Finally, there's no shenanigans, and we go from the next match, which is Becky getting the win over Carmella, 5:14. So kind of another squash match here, but these were necessary to push forward what we need to push forward. 64, not a great match, but I mean, look, the psychology, Carmella's not very over. Becky gets an 86 on the in-ring performance. That's all we're worried about. But, of course, this is leading to something else, and it comes after the match. Wow, 99. Oh, my goodness. Ronda Rousey underperformed, and we still got a 99. Well, that's good to know. Well, this is quite a segment here. So we get Becky with a victory, and here comes Ronda Rousey. Rousey comes out on the stage. She's got a microphone, and she just says, Becky, everybody's been asking, why did I come back and cost you your WrestleMania main event? She said, I've already explained once that I still, feel like I need to get my revenge on you for what happened several years ago at WrestleMania. And all you talked about is how you beat all these people. Well, you haven't beat me one-on-one ever. And Rousey just says, so why now? Everybody wants to know, why did I come back now? Well, it wasn't just for WrestleMania. She said, the reason I came back now is that I saw something. I saw that you have not been the same since the Mae Young Classic, which that gets the oohs and ahs from the crowd, because we all know what happened on night 2 of the Mae Young Classic after Rhea Ripley had beaten Becky Lynch. Roman Reigns with the shocking spear on Becky Lynch from out of nowhere. And Rousey just continues to repeat, you haven't been the same since what happened to you at the Mae Young Classic. You got beat by Rhea Ripley, and then you had Roman Reigns spear you right in the middle of the ring. You can talk a big game. You can say how you're back, but we all know you're still scared. You're still looking over your shoulder. You're not the same Becky Lynch you were before the Mae Young Classic. And so Ronda Rousey said, that's why I'm back to beat your ass. And that's exactly what I'm going to do if you step into the ring with me at WrestleMania. So the challenge has been laid down. Ronda Rousey challenging Becky Lynch for WrestleMania, a one-on-one match here, a 99 segment overall. So look, if you want to know why I put these two together for WrestleMania, here's why. Because you see how well they can do together from a rating standpoint. So that is kind of your setup here, and we will see what Becky Lynch's response is next week on Raw. So Rousey laying down the challenge and making it clear she thinks Becky is vulnerable after what happened at Mae Young Classic. So there is a great segment for that one. And now we get ready for our main event match, as it is Cesaro and Keith Lee hyping up the IC title match. We get separate promos from these two, kind of talking about the importance of this match. Cesaro, a chance to win some gold here, and that's kind of what he had his chance at Armageddon, right, to get a shot at the Royal Rumble rematch against Edge. He didn't win that one, but now gets another shot after a good Royal Rumble performance, and we will see if he can come up and win the Intercontinental Championship. Meanwhile, Keith Lee talking about just his lengthy reign here. Remember, Keith Lee's been our Intercontinental Champion since SummerSlam, and he's going to try for yet another kind of hard-hitting opponent. He's had a lot of those in this run as the champion. We've had Samoa Joe, we've had Sheamus, and so forth, but Keith Lee has come out on top of all of them. So that's your setup here for our main event. 69, a nice rating here. Heading into it, Cesaro challenging Keith Lee for the Intercontinental Championship. And in a terrific match. So this exceeded my expectations a little bit. I wasn't really sure what we'd get here, but yes, this definitely delivered. 82 overall. The champ retains again as Keith Lee gets the win over Cesaro, 14:49. So we did 15 minutes here on this match. The Spirit Bomb does it. That is now defense number 6 for Keith Lee of the Intercontinental Championship. And again, when you think about everybody he's come through here, he's got an impressive list of people that he's beaten to hold on to this title, and he does it again with the win over Cesaro, 82 overall. As we said, we did go steal the show on this one, so we wanted these two guys to go all out. I don't know if Keith Lee stamina-wise, so we got penalized for stamina. We got, the odd face heel combination. We didn't have the associated storyline, kind of lack of the heat there. So, but still, I still give it a huge thumbs up for an 82, even with all that combined into it. So, yeah, great match here. And so Keith Lee victorious yet again. And that is when we get after the match. Cesaro is on the outside, and he is dejected outside the ring, coming up short on his opportunity. And then we see the return of Sheamus. Sheamus is back, and Sheamus makes his way down, and we just see him kind of stare at Keith Lee in the ring, who's holding up the championship. And then Sheamus goes over and just is kind of patting Cesaro on the back, helps pick him up off the ground. And then, Cesaro or Sheamus just kind of talking into Cesaro's ear as, again, we see Cesaro pretty dejected here at what happened and, losing his opportunity here against the Intercontinental Champion. So 70 overall for this one. And now, as we have these two sort of heading up the ramp, we hear the music of none other than Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens makes his way out down the ring. And again, he walks past Cesaro, walks past Sheamus. 69 overall for this one. Another nice segment. Keith Lee still holding up that championship. We just talked about it. with Cesaro kind of staring at him. Kevin Owens makes his way down, and Owens walks into the ring. And Kevin Owens just kind of walks up to Keith Lee, who was holding that championship. And then, out of nowhere, Kevin Owens just hits a stunner on Keith Lee. So Keith Lee's holding up the championship. Owens is just standing right in front of him, and then Owens kicks him right in the midsection, hits the stunner, and Keith Lee is down, and the Intercontinental Championship has flown out of the hands of Keith Lee, and that is when Owens walks over and sees the Intercontinental title on the ground. He picks it up, and he just holds it in his hand and stares at it before sitting it down on top of Keith Lee. So Kevin Owens just walks up and stunners Keith Lee. We teased it a couple weeks ago. What is next for Kevin Owens after not getting the Intercontinental or getting the U.S. title back in the 4-way at the Rumble? He didn't win the Royal Rumble. What's next for Owens? Well, maybe we've got our answer as he comes out stunner to the champion after a hard title defense against Cesaro. And now, what will be next for this? Keith Lee not going to be too happy with Kevin Owens. So that is your segment there. And now we get to a 100. So terrific stuff here from Daniel Bryan and Steve Austin. Is this our first 100 maybe involving Daniel Bryan? Maybe. Probably not with Austin because we had all the stuff with Austin and The Rock on that one edition of SmackDown. Surely we had 100 on that segment. But Daniel Bryan makes his way out. Remember, we've heard everything earlier. Austin announced the match. He announced Edge versus AJ Styles. The winner, if it's Edge, becomes now a triple threat match at WrestleMania for the title. If AJ Styles wins, it's one-on-one Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles at WrestleMania. So Daniel Bryan comes out and he says, first of all, I just want to say, Edge, don't worry. I haven't forgotten what you did to me last week, and I'll take care of you soon enough, just like I did at the Royal Rumble. But that is when Bryan says, but I have something else to say. And he calls out Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Bryan just says, Steve, I'd like you to come out. So Austin makes his way out, and you can tell Austin's a little confused here. He's trying to figure out what's going on. He assumes, perhaps, this has something to do with the announcement earlier on for the WWE Championship. And that is when Bryan says, Steve, I understand why you did what you did earlier. I understand that you want to give Edge a shot, and I appreciate you not just throwing him into the match to make it a triple threat, because I've had a long road to get this championship in my hands. It revolved, around a lot of work, a lot of, setbacks, but I finally got it, and I appreciate you letting those two tear each other apart next week, because I will do whatever I have to do to keep this championship. I don't care if it's one guy. I don't care if it's two guys. I will do what I have to do. So that's what Bryan says. But he says, I also have a promise that I made to someone. And I know you're already looking ahead to WrestleMania. And you're trying to figure out, whether you're going to have to sign the contract between me and AJ Styles or me, Edge, and AJ Styles. But he said, Steve, I made a promise. I made a promise to someone back in November that if I ever got my WWE Championship back, which I said I would do, I made a promise to this person that they would get an opportunity to step into the ring with me in a one-on-one match for my WWE Championship. And that is when Daniel Bryan says, so, Steve, I need to honor that promise, and I need to do it next week on Raw. And then Steve's like, well, hold on a second, Daniel. Who are you talking about here? What are you talking about, this promise you made? And that is when Daniel Bryan says, Steve, I'm just going to let you know that back at Survivor Series, everything that had happened, I lost my championship in August at SummerSlam. I had a long road, like I said, and I finally started to turn things around. October turned to November. We had Survivor Series. We had the big championship match, or we had the big elimination match at Survivor Series. And we finally started to turn the momentum against the Bullet Club, against Rated RKO. And Bryan said there was someone that helped me do that. And I promised him that for everything he's done, all the work he's put in, he would get his shot at the WWE title. And that is when Daniel Bryan calls out none other than Montez Ford. And Bryan calls out Ford, who is just kind of surprised. We can see Ford walking down, and he makes his way into the ring. He gets up in the middle of the ring, Austin standing in the middle. We have Bryan on one side, Montez Ford on the other side, and Bryan says, Steve, here's the guy I made the promise to. Montez Ford had his shot against Edge for the WWE Championship. He had it taken away. You took the title out of his hands. And then what did he do? He just kept on going. He kept going. He kept going. He's not stopped. He's not given up. I made that promise to him. Backstage after Survivor Series, he's the one that pinned Edge to win, our elimination match. And if we remember, Bryan was the one that sort of came back, got involved in that one, helped Ford get the splash to pin Edge in a shocking turn of events at Survivor Series. And so I told him he would get that shot. He went on to get his shot against Edge. It didn't work out for him. You took that title away from him, but now he's going to get his shot, just like I promised him. And Austin just says, all right, if that's what you want, we'll do it. Next week on Raw, Daniel Bryan defends the WWE Championship against Montez Ford. So, 91 segment here. Overall, great segment. Everybody involved did their stuff here. So there you go. If you think about the running thread we had throughout this show, it started off with the announcement. We had this sort of teases between Ford and Edge and Styles. And now this is what we get to with Daniel Bryan revealing he made a promise to Montez Ford. Because remember, these three were kind of aligned. Bryan was aligned with the Profits there for a while when they were having all the issues with Edge and Orton and the Bullet Club. Well, now Bryan is returning the favor after Ford and Dawkins sort of helped him out. He is giving a WWE Championship match to Montez Ford next week. So there is your setup for what is going to be a huge edition of Raw next week. 91 finishes off the show here, and we get an 88 show. Wow. One of our best shows yet. Maybe, I don't remember what our highest show is. Did we get an 89 somewhere? I think we did. So this may not be our best show yet, but this is one of the best shows we've ever put on. So 29, it's good for episode 100. We get one of our best shows ever. So we increased our popularity in 29 regions. When you really look at it, everything, we had none of those just truly horrible segments, right? But we had everything sort of here with Rousey and Becky was huge. We've got this between Austin and Bryan gets the 100. Even Ford involved here gets a 91. So a great edition of Raw, and it sets up, as I said, a huge show next week with a lot on the line. Edge versus AJ Styles. Daniel Bryan is going to defend the WWE Championship against Montez Ford. Ford gets another shot. If we remember the dramatic turn of events last November, it's now another chance for Montez Ford here. 88 for the show. Let's see when he gets to before we wrap up. We got a lot to come on next week's Raw. All right, so that was Raw, an awesome show. One of our best ever, and we will actually check it to see if that was our best show ever. I don't remember. Again, I've got to look to see. Let's look it up real quick. All right, let's look at the stats to see what our best show was. I want to say we got an 89. Yeah, so SmackDown, that's right. Last month we had SmackDown that got an 89. So 88, still one of our better shows that we've done here, but there you go. But still, here's your statistics, right? So we're 100 episodes in. This is a nice little milestone. We booked 79 shows, 8 months of game time, and as you can see, some of the best stuff we've had to this point. Highest attendance, the Rumble, so that's good. You see, January was a big month for us, looking at our highest TV ratings, all that stuff. Reigns and The Rock, still our best match rating-wise, 89. Still haven't got to that 90 mark yet for matches, but I have a feeling that's coming soon. I've just got a feeling we're going to put one of those together. I think WrestleMania is going to give us a 90 match. We might get one at No Way Out, but just telling you, I've got a good feeling given what we're booking at these shows. So there's kind of your overall statistics, 100 episodes into the series, and as we said, Raw did great. We'll look at our email here. JoJo's contract ending, Shelton Benjamin's contract ending. We'll address those. Drug test fees there. Raw gets a 4.08, so that is interesting on that. But there you go. There was Raw, and as we said, a big edition of Raw next week, one of our most significant yet when you look at the matches on the card. Styles versus Edge, Ford versus Bryan. We've got Rhea Ripley in action. We talked about other stuff as well. So a big edition of Raw on the road to WrestleMania next week. So be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and a lot more on the way. Again, appreciate you guys' support of the channel. As I said earlier, 100 episodes in. The feedback to this series has just been unbelievable. Clearly, the flagship series here on the channel, the most episodes we've done of any other series, without question. So it's pretty wild to think about what we've grown to now. After episode 1 to now episode number 100, it's pretty awesome, to say the least. So I do appreciate you guys, as always. And on the next episode of our WWE 2022 save, it will be SmackDown for Week 3 in February.